When we think of the Roman legions, what comes to mind is their discipline, their armour and their relentless conquests across Europe, Africa and Asia. But there's an often overlooked truth. No matter how sharp their swords or how strict their generals, none of it mattered if their soldiers weren't fed. Armies march on their stomachs, and nowhere was this clearer than in the Roman Empire. The ability to feed thousands of men day after day while marching across continents was as decisive as any battle plan. So, what exactly did these soldiers eat to survive? How did their diet sustain them during long campaigns, sieges and grueling marches that stretched across some of the harshest terrains of the ancient world? The answers not only shed light on the daily life of a Roman soldier, but also offer valuable lessons in survival and resourcefulness that still resonate today. At the core of the Roman soldier's diet was grain. Every legionary carried his share of wheat, roughly 3 pounds per day, on his back as part of his marching kit. This wheat was ground into flour and most often transformed into pulse, a thick porridge that could be eaten plain or mixed with vegetables, cheese or meat if available. This grain-heavy diet provided the calories needed to fuel endless marching and labour. But the Roman army knew better than to rely solely on wheat. Protein sources, though less consistent, were crucial. Salted pork and bacon were prized when available, both for taste and for their long shelf life. Cheese, dried legumes like lentils and chickpeas, and occasional fresh meat supplemented the grains. Altogether, the Roman diet for soldiers was heavy, dense and functional. It was built not for comfort, but for survival, with a balance of carbohydrates, protein and fats that allowed men to fight, march and endure hardships that modern armies might struggle to imagine. The true marvel of Rome was not only in what soldiers ate, but in how food was delivered to them. A single legion could number 5,000 men, and when combined with auxiliary forces, support staff and animals, the total easily reached tens of thousands. Feeding such a force was a logistical nightmare. But no supply chain was perfect, especially in enemy territory. That's where requisition came in. Roman soldiers were often ordered to gather food from local populations. Sometimes this meant buying from villagers, but more often it meant seizing supplies as tribute or, well, as plunder. Not every campaign went smoothly, and Roman soldiers often faced starvation. During long sieges, food supplies dwindled to desperate levels. Accounts from ancient historians describe men boiling leather, eating weeds, and in extreme cases, resorting to cannibalism when trapped behind walls with no way out. Morale plummeted when food was scarce, and armies sometimes broke down entirely because their stomachs were empty. You know, Roman soldiers were not just fighters, they were also cooks. Meals were rarely luxurious, but they were practical and nourishing enough to keep men on their feet. Looking back, the Roman soldier's diet offers, well, some surprising lessons for modern survivalists and history enthusiasts alike. In many ways, the Roman diet, though basic, was ahead of its time. Compared to the processed, nutrient-light diets that dominate the modern world, the Roman soldier's food was whole, natural and, honestly, surprisingly balanced. The story of the Roman soldier's food is really the story of survival on a grand scale. From porridge pots bubbling in camp to desperate foraging in hostile lands, their meals were, without a doubt, the fuel of empire. And within those meals lies a survival blueprint still relevant today. Rely on staples, adapt to your environment, and never underestimate the morale power of a shared meal. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the real-life survival diet of the Roman legions, make sure to subscribe to Backyard Wisdom. Share this video with fellow history buffs and survival enthusiasts so we can keep exploring the forgotten lessons of the past. Ancient food wasn't just sustenance, it was strategy, and its lessons still endure.